In 2014, getting a package to your door within one day was something that Amazon Prime members paid for, but only a handful of items were able to be delivered in that fast of a time frame. Now, however, 12 years later, Amazon delivers 9 billion items to US customers within 24 hours of placing that purchase button. My gosh, how times have changed. I've spent my career building software for warehouses, yards, and logistics networks all across the world. I've spent so many hours on the docks with truck drivers, with warehousing staff, and I've sat in those control tower rooms. So I've seen what it takes day in and day out to be able to achieve excellence at the logistics network level. And in this video, I'm going to take you through exactly what happens from the time you hit purchase on your smartphone or your PC to the second that that box lands at your doorstep. And by the end, you're going to know how insane it is to be able to pull off one-day shipping all across the US. Supply chain is made up of 5 components. First is planning, second is sourcing, third is manufacturing, fourth is delivery, and last but not least is returns. That reverse logistics network is dreaded from a business standpoint. From a consumer standpoint, we love it. The ability to return the product I purchased within 30 days, no questions asked, and get my money back is amazing. It's a big reason why consumers continue to come back to Amazon. But those 5 key components have to be in lockstep to be able to achieve that one-day shipping that we all know and love. One-day shipping is about forecasting. Most people think it's a delivery speed problem. More trucks, faster driving. Well, it's really not though. So why is it about forecasting? Well, think about this. If I can predict what product a certain area is going to purchase within a certain bullseye, I can now work with my suppliers. I can make sure that that product is at the local fulfillment center or sorting centers well before you even hit the purchase signal. That's why it's a forecasting scenario. So think about this. I own a pool. I live in New York State. I'm probably not going to be buying pool supplies in November or December or even February. But come Easter timeframe, April, Memorial Day, absolutely. So how do I make sure I ramp up supply well before a consumer hits that purchase button? And I can't just think of one consumer. I have to think of the entire territory. So think of all those trends that are really common. Just like back to school, end of July, early August, I've got to be ramped and ready for all those online shoppers that are ready to go for their kids right before that first week of school. So let's think about this in your context. You get home from work on Tuesday. In the afternoon, you go online on your smartphone and you place purchase. By the time that that email hits your inbox saying that your purchase is confirmed, the inventory has already been allocated to a certain fulfillment center or fulfillment centers. Those orders have already been in queue to be boxed, picked, and loaded onto a certain truck. All that are key components into coming up with an ETA, or estimated time of arrival. If there's dog food or school supplies, you know that by Wednesday between 12 to 1 that you should expect that shipment to be delivered. That is how you deliver consumer satisfaction. There's so much technology that goes into this, whether it's big tech platforms like SAP, Blue Yonder, and Manhattan, or point solutions that really hone in on demand planning, demand sensing, such as O9 or Kinaxis. The supply chain tech landscape is a massive ecosystem of technology that's heavily integrated to be able to model out these different scenarios and predict what you're going to buy on Tuesday afternoon in February. So next time you place a package, think about, when did the journey actually start? It's not when you're hitting purchase. The reality is it's coming from a control tower, most likely, somewhere at a corporate office or a planning center. And a demand planner is working with their suppliers and the fulfillment network to understand, where am I short on inventory? Where am I over on inventory? How do I reallocate product between my network? And in some cases, it's actually vendor managed inventory. Some vendors are responsible to making sure that every fulfillment center has the right level of product. Ultimately, their product can't sell if they don't have it. So some retailers and e-commerce companies use VMI quite heavily in their network. So how fast has this scaled over the last 10 years? Well, Amazon alone operates over 1,200 centers all across the US. And 10 years ago, that number was less than 100. It's absolutely insane the level of sophistication and infrastructure it takes to be able to deliver a real-time forecasting model that our consumers absolutely rely on day in and day out. So when we think about what is the core problem, we talked about it's not delivery speed. It's the fact that the infrastructure was built close to the consumer, and it was built from the ground up. That's one of the biggest advantages that Amazon had over its competition. But if we think about if this is a forecasting scenario, everything downstream exists to defend that one decision, whether it's sorting centers, truck delivery networks, contractors to handle all those small packages and returns. All that is to defend the decision to put inventory as close to the end consumer as possible. So how does the product actually get from the warehouse to a truck without a driver or a truck having to sit around and wait for hours? Because that would be highly inefficient. Ultimately, it's the fulfillment center that's the answer to this. So if you've never seen a modern Amazon FC or fulfillment center, picture this: 1 million square foot building. It's literally as far as the eye can see. They have over 15 miles of conveyor belts inside one building. There's hundreds of Kiva-style robots maneuvering around the building. And humans, they stay put. One of the biggest changes in warehousing technology and transformation is humans used to be the ones going all around the building on forklifts. Now, humans stay put. In those pickers, they are generally speaking never going more than a few feet at a time. That is how modern day FCs are operating at such a high rate of speed, quality, and most importantly, safety. When we think of these FCs, they're not organized like you would go shopping in a store. There isn't a book section or a sporting goods section and a school section. It's really based on fast-moving items versus slow-moving items. You may have a separate FC altogether for slow-moving items. Why is that? Well, it's a whole different operation. Ultimately, the organization of the building in the FC is really based on speed to pick the product and to be able to load the product. That's why if you ever get a box, sometimes you're like, wait a minute, I got 2 boxes for what I ordered in one delivery, but unfortunately, it was literally on the other side of the FC. So in fact, it's actually cheaper for Amazon to send 2 packages to your door than to have robotics or a human go to the other side of the building. The average pick time is around 15 seconds, and the average picker touches about 300 to 400 picks per hour. So per shift, it's pretty significant. When you think of how many people you have in your zip code or how many people that FC supports, that one picker is touching a good population of your area. The bottleneck is not finding things. It's the human hand. It's that final component. Yes, it's been automated a lot over the last 10 years, but the human component still exists today. And across the network, Amazon ships about 1.6 million packages every single day in the US. Think about that. It's huge. And on Prime Day or Black Friday, their 2 biggest peaks, some buildings will push 1.5 to 2 million units in a one-day stretch. It's absolutely insane. If you think of a warehouse as a building, you're not wrong, but the reality is these FCs are a river. Product just flows. The rate of speed depends on what the demand signals are. So next time you look at a warehouse, whether it's an Amazon building or another building down the street, think about, is this a building in a warehouse that product sits? Or is this a river where there's a constant flow? Things are smooth. Friction doesn't exist. That should change your minds about how 24-hour delivery gets pulled off. So a sortation center is a highly, highly automated building. When we think back to what I just said, it's not really a building, it's a river. Product just flows. So full truckloads come in from fulfillment centers around the country. The product gets unloaded onto an automated system. That system will scan, weigh, take the dimensions of products. It will also take pictures of those products as well, so that I can identify if there's damage or any waste in the network. From there, automated systems will send those packages to the best truck available to head towards delivery center. So we think about this middle layer in the Amazon network, it's absolutely critical to hitting those prime one-day windows. So if Amazon didn't have these sorting centers, what would happen? Without sort centers, you would need an FC in nearly every city in the US, which isn't financially feasible. So with sort centers, one FC can serve hundreds of zip codes all overnight. So if you compare it to the old model, well, it was really FC to store. But now in Amazon's world, you go from FC to sorting center to delivery center, and then ultimately those packages will show up at your door in a timely fashion. That handoff is so critical to be able to optimize their entire network, all well in advance of the time you hit that purchase button. So last mile delivery is that final mile between the warehousing point, whatever that warehouse may be, and you and your door. When we think of Amazon's competitors, USPS, UPS, and FedEx, well, why couldn't they meet Amazon's delivery windows? Well, the answer is it's because the inventory in question wasn't where it needed to be, right? That's why we talked about it's a forecasting issue, not a delivery speed issue. Those same USPS or UPS or FedEx trucks, they move just as fast as those Amazon vehicles, but it's the inventory positioning component that really gets Amazon one step ahead. When you look at the whole logistics expense that journey of your package, about 50 to 55% of it is in the final mile component alone. So everything beforehand, from FCs to sorting centers to intercompany transport, all that is a fraction of what the final mile component is. And why is that? Well, the final mile component still relies on a human. You have all of your commercial truck costs, maintenance, leasing costs, and in some cases, oftentimes you're relying on contractors to do the delivery as well. So it's so critical that all the previous steps are optimal financially as well to be able to be profitable as a business. In the early days, Amazon absolutely tried to rely on those parcel providers. However, they couldn't solve the inventory problem that we've talked a lot about. So what did they do? They built their own delivery service partner program. They have over 200,000 plus drivers that represent employees and contractors of all different shapes and sizes. Ultimately, they became their own carrier. So whether you use Fulfilled by Amazon or you buy from Amazon directly, they did what most companies can't do, and they built a massive final mile delivery program, all to hit that one-day window that our Prime customers expected. So within this extensive logistics network with 200,000 drivers, it's route optimization that's the speed. It's what gets every package to his end customer within the least amount of miles, being able to meet that promise date or the ETA. So every hour, freight is being optimized constantly. So if you place a new package order today, well, I've got to re-optimize what was already planned an hour ago. And that's all built in to their optimization engines. It's built by PhD ops research folks that are true experts in the vehicle routing problem. So ultimately, Amazon's a logistics company with this beautiful e-commerce and e-retail wrapper around it. They were built as this supply chain company, and then everything else blossomed after. And it all started with books. Who can believe that? If this is just about forecasting, sortation, in conjunction with FCs and last mile, why has no one caught up? One of the reasons is Amazon was built from the ground up. So who else is close to that? Well, Walmart is one. They're trying to rebuild their network into that case. Target, they're trying to leverage their stores more as fulfillment centers. And yes, UPS and FedEx have continued to focus on speed, but they don't control the inventory, nor are they the brand that people shop from. So really in the US alone, Amazon is in uncharted territories. To match the speed, you need forecasting data, optimization models, density, physical network, the delivery network, and most importantly, you need the customers. Because without all that infrastructure, if you don't have customers, you have a lot of capital expenditures just sitting, waiting, being unoptimized. Every one of these pieces only works because the other exists, right? If Amazon didn't have FCs, sortation centers wouldn't work. If they didn't have last mile, it wouldn't matter if their sorting centers and FCs and supplier networks were as vast and optimized as they were. That last mile component is critical, just like every other step. One-day shipping isn't really about shipping. It's about a small number of companies that really decided that supply chain is their core differentiation. It was built from the ground up, and today it's changed how we as consumers live day in and day out. The package on your porch is the visible tip of the spear that was designed 15 years ago. So that is the modern one-day shipping machine. The forecasting, the FCs, the sortation centers, the last mile, the entire system fits perfectly to be able to deliver what we expect day in and day out. Because Amazon is not the only company moving things at almost incomprehensible scale. So click this video here because I broke down how Coca-Cola delivers 2 billion drinks per day across 200 different countries. And their logistics model was vastly different than Amazon. And somehow it works just as well. Different network, different customers, same results. I'll see you there.